Hello everyone, back tuning into today's first video. We're doing the weather for next week, 10 days for today's first video. So we're going to see if there's any signs of northern blocking turning up in model output in the next sort of week to 10 days, next couple of weeks, that kind of time frame. We'll also have a look at CFS features as we have been doing it every day this week. We'll have a look at that for the next month. We've got a little bit about February as well from the CFS at the end of the video. But before I do anything else, I've got to say a big thank you to our latest PayPal donor. So I've had a new donation via PayPal for Gals of this. And I'm going to say a big thank you to Anonymous. This donor wanted to stay anonymous. So you know who you are, and I know who you are. And a big thank you for giving a donation to Gals of this. And if you would like to join this anonymous donor and become a donor for Gals Like This, and all you need to do is come to the galslikevids.me PayPal page. I'm on that page right now, so just come to this page, you sign into your PayPal account, and then you can give us an anonymous donation if you would like to do that, or you'll get a shout out in the videos. If you want to stay anonymous, just give a little note with your donation and let us know that's what you'd like to do. Otherwise, we'll give you a mention by your name in the video, say big thank you for giving us this donation. Again, big huge thank you to all of the PayPal donors. It really is something very, very kind that you are doing for Gals Like This. Alternatively, of course, there is Patreon as well. So if you would like to become a patron for Gals Like This, this is how you can do it at the Gals Like This Patreon page. So we link to both PayPal and Patreon in the description at YouTube and on all pages at Gals Like This website. So if you'd like to become a patron, just come to the Patreon page, sign up for a Patreon account, and you can give us an ongoing monthly donation. So the idea is that Patreon is like an ongoing donation, or they can cancel at any time. It's like an ongoing donation, whereas PayPal is like a one-off donation. I've got 53 patrons so far, and a big thank you to all of our patrons as well. So, again, that's it. Big thank you to our anonymous donor, and a big thank you to all of the donors and all the patrons for Gals Like This for helping us to pay for our content. We are primarily ads funded at Gals Like This website and the YouTube channel, and will be remaining so, just an added revenue stream as ad yields are declining year on year for various reasons that I haven't got time to go into right now. So again, big thank you to all the patrons, big thank you to all the donors, and thanks so much for doing that. Right, so this is how things are looking in terms of the 500 millibar high anomaly flowcharts from next week to 10 days for Penn State University. We've got the ECMWF here on the top, and the GFS, which we'll have a look in a moment, is on the bottom. 500 millibars, 85 feet is an area in the outer high pressure, low pressure are being moved around by the jet stream running above. Red extrapolates to high pressure and blue to low pressure. These are the mean flow charts for 7 to 10 days time. So it's going to take us around the 20th or so of January. ECMWF is placing a trough of below average heights, a trough of low pressure across Scandinavia and many central and northern parts of Europe. So low pressure is digging through there. We've got this ridge of high pressure in the middle of the Atlantic. It does extend up towards Greenland a little bit, but it's not classic northern blocking. Now, of course, the storyline of this winter really is that we have the southern stratospheric warming that occurred at the end of December. It did everything that it's supposed to do. So it had the dramatic increase in temperature starting in Siberia, moving into the North Pole, over 50 degrees Celsius rise in a few days. We had a reverse of the zone of winds. The zone of winds are still in reverse over the North Pole. We had a split of the polar vortex at its roots in the stratosphere. So everything has happened that we look for to get a tropospheric response. We moved that warming down to 30 HPA as well, starting at 10 HPA, went down to 30 HPA, which is closer towards the troposphere, so it tells us that this should be propagating into the troposphere. Everything that we look for with a sudden stratospheric warming has happened, and what we're looking for now is a tropospheric response. We're looking for northern blocking. And the confusion, the mystery within the videos at the moment, within the model output, is that the longer range models are still going for very extensive northern blocking later in January and lasting into February, which would, if it came off, produce very cold conditions. The shorter range model output still not really there in the week to 10 day time frames. And we see this with the ECMOs this morning from this 500 millibar height anomaly flowchart. Yes, this is a fairly cool or even quite cold scenario. The jet stream coming through the Atlantic and it's dipping southwards around this trough of below average height. So this trough is certainly pulling cold air down into many parts of Europe. We'll be bringing quite a bit of snow through northern and central Europe too, but it's not a true blocking pattern. It's not a large blocking feature that we've got here yet. It might develop into it, but at this stage, up to day 10, it is not a large blocking feature over Greenland and over the North Pole. So we're still waiting for that tropospheric response in the form of northern blocking. GFS is very similar. Again, we got the ridge of above average height through the central part of the Atlantic Ocean. We've got this trough of below average heights. Low pressure is centred to the east and northeast of the UK. Jet stream comes across the Atlantic and then dips southwards around that trough of below average heights. And that trough of low pressure is pulling cold air into many central parts of Europe. So again, it's a coldish pattern. It's a cool pattern to cold pattern, particularly for Central Northern Europe, but still no true blocking signal over the Arctic and over the North Pole. We're still waiting for that to start appearing within the shorter range model output. GFS ensembles for the next couple of weeks are looking like this. We're looking at Barnstable. Today, someone's asked me to have a look at Barnstable with the ensemble section of the videos. By the way, we're pretty much full up now with places. So I've got around a month's worth now of locations to look at. You've asked me to look at with the ensembles. That's as much as we can take for the time being. So when we've got through some of these, I'll let you know. You may start adding your location again, but at the moment I think we're pretty much full up now with the list. We've got a lot to get through, around a month's worth of locations in the daily videos. Big thank you to all of you for asking for your location, for engaging with the videos. I've always wanted the videos to be interactive and for you to be able to sort of interact with the videos, and this is one of the ways we can do it, by looking at your location in the ensemble section of the video. So in a few days, when we've got through some of these excuse me, when we've got through some of these locations, I will again ask you to start adding your location. Right, so this is how the GFS ensembles are looking for Barnstable. The red line here is the 30-year upper air temperature average for Barnstable. And we're going to be above average actually over the next few days. It's going to be turning milder. Pretty cold this morning, but it's going to be turning milder over the next few days. Becoming quite mild over the weekend and start of next week. Then the temperatures through next week are sliding, going below average. Temperatures are going colder than average. Quite significantly so, although it's not a very cold spell, but it certainly is substantially below the red line. Most of those ensemble members and the ensemble mean, which is the white line, below the 30-year temperature average. So looks pretty cold. Not going into a freezer yet. We haven't got signs really of -10 or -15 at 850 HPA. Temperatures coming up, so they're kind of like the freezer level. You're going to get ice days and that kind of thing. Severe frost will go down to -10 to -15, that kind of level. Few of these ensemble members do go down to -10 at 850 HPA, but we're not seeing a sustained drop. We're not seeing ensemble members doing something like that, which always tends to look quite dramatic when they do that. But we're not seeing that yet. It may be something that appears in the model output in the next week or two. At the moment, I think we're just looking at a relatively mild start, then turning cooler, eventually by the time we get through the second half of the month, possibly turning colder as well. As far as the precipitation section is concerned for Barnstable, lots of dry weather coming up to the middle of the month. That's 15th January just there. And then similar trend to what we've seen over the past few days with these ensemble charts turning more and more unsettled into the second half of the month. And of course, as the temperature is dropping, it's turning more unsettled too, so you have to think there is the potential for wintry conditions. By that I'm talking about rain, sleet, possibly snow as well. although the finer detail on that will have to be fine-tuned. Not sort of big freeze type conditions, not beast from the east type conditions, but on areas of low pressure as they move into cold air, and potentially as cold air undercuts as they move away, maybe chance of transitional snow, hill snow, and that kind of thing. Again, we will need to sort of firm up on that kind of detail, I would have thought, through the course of next week. Temperature anomalies for the next week, going from the 10th to the 18th of January, a little bit milder than average in most of the UK and Ireland as well, so a pretty mild week coming up, and precipitation anomalies drier than average still. Any change to wetter conditions in the second half of the month, so most of this period from the 10th to the 18th of January is still looking mild and average. It's been a very mild, very dry January so far. Right, so this is how the GFS is looking for Sunday. High pressure to the southwest, low pressure is to the northeast of the country, and we're bringing in this fairly mild northwesterly wind. This is GFS operational run, I should say. Into next week, we see a gradual erosion of the high pressure as low pressure starts to become more and more influential. Notice the jet stream, indicated by the black line, man, is beginning to shift southwards as well. Cold air is beginning to push down into Scandinavia, northern parts of Europe. We've also got cold air lurking to our northeast. On the northern side of these areas of low pressure, the air is actually turning quite cold. Now, so as low pressure taking increasingly southerly trap, taking rain through the country and eventually pulling in cold winds. So running towards day 10, this is Saturday the 19th of January, we're pulling in quite a cold northeasterly to northeasterly wind there. That's how things look at day 10. Trying to get into a cold pattern, but still not slowing down the Atlantic greatly. So as we go into the extended range, we get this very deep area of low pressure developing to the northwest of Scotland. That's bringing heavy rain and gale force winds. We're up to the 22nd of January now, by the way, and still no real blocking signal. As I say, that is the last thing that we're waiting for, some northern blocking, and there's no northern blocking there at all to the north of the UK. All those green and purple colours are indicating low pressure, low heights to the north of the country. So up to the end of this GFS run, we find that this low pressure exits away to the east, does start to pull quite cold air in from the north again. That's how we finish up, right at the very end of the GFS operational run. 26th of January, we've got high pressure to our northeast, trying to get into more of a block situation, and we are having a go at pulling cold winds in from the east. So that's poised to turn things a lot colder and a lot more blocked on the 26th of January. But bear in mind, this is 384 hours away. It's over 2 weeks away. It's very unreliable. And so, again, just it's a low probability that that will come off. It's the kind of thing we're looking for after the sun stratospheric warm. This is a parallel GFS run. Again, on Sunday, we've got these mild west-northwesterly winds coming in across the country. Into next week, turning increasingly unsettled through the week as high pressure is gradually eroded away. These areas of low pressure up to day 10 are heading in from off the Atlantic, but again, still no genuine northern blocking signal. What's happening here is that we're pulling in pretty cold air from the northwest. There is certainly the potential for wintry weather over northern parts of the country in particular, because that's quite cold air coming in from the north. So there is certainly potential for rain, sleet and snow increasingly through the course of next week. But once again, we still struggle to find a genuine blocking signal. We still have all of this blue and purple here, close to Greenland in particular, but also going into the Arctic. That is all indicative of below average heights. It's all indicative of low pressure, low heights to the north. Still no genuine northern blocking signal. We are bringing in cold air from the northwest, but it's not locked in true Arctic or Siberian cold weather on the parallel GFS run. So let's just push back through to there and go back to there. So that's the parallel up to day 10. In the more extended range, that low pressure does dive southwards. That low pressure starts to dive southwards through the UK. And as it clears away to the south, we start pulling this very cold northerly winds or easterly wind. So things very quickly do start to change there as that low pressure sinks southwards on the parallel GFS rub. We have the heights building to the north and west, but low pressure is sinking southwards like that. And so that is pulling in some genuinely cold air from the east. Does it quite quickly. You wouldn't think that would happen from what the situation is there on the 20th of January at day 10 to 22nd of January with heights rising to the north. Then we go into an area of high pressure which has cold air within it, cold, frosty, dry conditions up to the end of the parallel GFS run on the 26th of January. I think I might have said that's the ECM, but it's not the ECM, it's the GFS parallel run. We haven't looked at parallel much over the last few days because it's not been updating for some reason, but it is back now. So I thought I'd include that, but I forgot that that's the parallel, not the ECM. So this is the genuine ECM WF, and again it has mild westerly winds over weekend and into the start of next week. Gradually, low pressure nibbles away at that high pressure. We pull down some quite cold air from the north actually on Thursday, 17th of January. Then build a ridge within quite cold air on Friday the 18th, while low pressure comes back in from the Atlantic. And as that moves into the cold air, might be a little bit of wind shear potential with that, particularly for northern areas. That's how we look at day 10, which is certainly the 20th of January. Low pressure is moving away to the east. We are raising heights a little bit to the north, as the heights are rising a little bit up there, and also we're building a ridge through the middle of the Atlantic. So if we could run on another 24 hours, we would possibly find the winds going into a northerly direction. That looks like it's poised to turn things a bit colder, I have to say, for the final week or so of January. These are how the ECM Ensembles are looking from postage stamps. So this is how things look at day 10. We have 51 members of the ECM Ensembles, and they are all 51, 100%, all showing below average heights over and to the east of the UK, with above average heights in the middle of the Atlantic. Very much in line with what that operational run was just showing. So becoming colder, winds are coming down from Northern Atlantic. It's not true blocking, but certainly there is a little bit of wind shear potential with that mid-Atlantic ridge and the low pressure to our east. At 2 weeks away, 360 hours, we have 18 ensemble members that have below average heights to the east of the country, a ridge in the middle of the Atlantic. These ones pull the winds down from the north. Then we have a further 17 that look like they're getting close to northern blocking. They're taking the mid-Atlantic ridge up towards Greenland with below average heights again to our southeast. They're pulling in cold easterly winds, I would have thought, or northeasterlies. And they have a further 16 that have a mid-Atlantic ridge. Don't quite get it up to Greenland, but there is a bit of a northern blocking signal up there with below average heights to our east. They all look quite cold, I have to say, of those scenarios that we have within the ECM Ensembles at 2 weeks away. They look pretty cold. They're not sustained, or perhaps these ones might be. Those ones there might be sustained cold weather. The other two look a little bit flimsy, but they look like they're getting there in terms of colder conditions in around a couple of weeks. CFSV2, 500 millibar heights, breaks down into weekly pairs. First week takes us from the 10th to the 16th of January, has the above average heights still centred just a little bit to the west of the UK, below average heights digging through eastern parts of Europe, winter's going down through there. We're relatively mild with wind coming around the top of that high pressure from the Atlantic. Week 2 looks like this, becoming colder, below average heights. The trough is extending through central and northern Europe. The above average heights pulling out into the middle of the Atlantic and going further north up towards Greenland. These ones would be pulling in cold air or colder air from the north, and then we go through to week 3. Genuine northern blocking again in week 3. It's been a consistent signal through the week with the CFS 24th to 30th of January, blocking high pressure from the middle of the Atlantic up to Greenland and extending back into the North Pole as well. The trough of below average heights is over to the south of the UK. You're expected pulling down cold or possibly even very cold air from the east and from the northeast or from the north. And then we go through to week 4. It's the 31st of January to 6th of February. Still looking like we've got that mid-Atlantic ridge extending back towards blocking over Greenland, the below average heights over to the south of the UK. Very little change. You expect this to still be pretty cold and wintry, maybe even very cold, with snow across many parts of Europe via that trough. Temperature anomalies in week 1. The temp of 16th of January, milder than average for the UK and much of Northern Europe. But week 2, that's when the change starts to take place. It's the 17th to 23rd next week, going colder than average for the UK and for many central parts of Europe. Temperatures dipping below average, and then we go through to week 3, which is also colder than average, quite substantially so, to around 2.5 degrees below average. Many central parts of Europe are going below 3 degrees below average in week 3, and then those colder than average conditions are maintained into week 4, the 31st of January to the 6th of February. Again, colder than average for the UK, colder than average for most of Central and Northern Europe. This has been a very, very consistent signal from the CFS throughout this week. We'll be looking at these day by day. And then finally, just for February, this is how CFS is forecasting February this morning. It wants to have a blocking feature around Greenland and to the north, with the below average heights to the south of the UK, so pulling in winds from a cold north or northeasterly direction during February. And look at this, we don't see this very often. The CFS is actually forecasting a colder than average February to the UK for Ireland, below average temperature anomalies there, very substantially below average for Scandinavia really in the freezer during February, and those cold average conditions extending to central parts of Europe as well. So the CFS is really going to town now. It's really going to town on colder than average conditions during February. It wants a change to start. Like next week, really. It gets colder through the second half of January, leading to what could be a very cold and wintry February for many parts of Europe. So it all remains to be seen. It's a very, very mysterious sort of winter, this, with right since the winter forecast. We had a lot of questions about this winter. There's sort of low confidence in the winter forecast due to the conflicting signals. We expected it will get colder and colder as it goes along. That is very much what the CFS is signalling here after a really mild early parts of the winter. It wants us to be much, much colder by the time we get through to February, with the second half of January proving to be the transitional period. But there's still not much sign of this northern blocking within the shorter range model output, so the confusion remains for today, although it does look as though it will be turning quite a bit colder through the course of next week, and unsettled, with the risk of at least some transitory sleet and snow, more particularly in the north, but maybe not exclusively so. But we're not talking about going into the freezer within the shorter range model output, although that really is what the longer range model output is hinting at. So let's just wait and see, and we'll do another update tomorrow. Of course, tomorrow we have a week to 10 day update, and of course tomorrow JMA Friday, which should be quite an interesting watch, I would have thought. See what the JMA and CFS V2 are forecasting then. Right, that's all for now. We're probably going to have Ensembles watch this evening, so I know a lot of you are waiting for Ensembles watch. It's proving to be a very popular update, a little bit surprisingly. I never expect Ensemble Watch to really catch on. But we'll go for all the GFS Ensemble members, I think, this evening. It'll probably be up quite late. May not be until after 8 o'clock. I've got to record it and then upload it this evening. So we'll have Ensembles Watch for you later on this evening. That's all for now, and thanks for watching.